Hello and welcome to another week of Monday with the Mayor. I'm Bradford Raths, and we are back in Jasper with Terry Seitz.
Good day.
Good day to you too. So, subdivision focus groups, we had those a couple weeks back. Let's talk about that.
We actually did. During the last time we talked and today, we had focus groups for our review of our subdivision control and zoning ordinances. And as I've said previously, it's really critical for us. One is how you want your city to look and how you want your city to grow. And we have not done a formal rewrite of our zoning ordinances or subdivision control ordinances in 21 years. So we know that things change, times change, the community changes, and ultimately this is very healthy. It's part really of it works hand in hand with the Downtown Jasper Riverfront Master Plan and all these things, because there are things that you can do now or that other cities have done. We can look at over the last 20 years, things that we want to model. And certainly we want to hear, and we already have heard with our first focus groups, a lot about what we're doing already, what could improve, and then some of the internal workings that we could actually improve as well to make service to the business community better.
So I understand also there's a new historic district being considered for Jasper?
Right. We have, I think people generally notice that Jasper's downtown, particularly the Courthouse Square, has a particular appearance to it. Over the period of years, there have been some fires, and that has changed some of the structures, but fortunately, none of those have occurred over the last 40 years. However, we have what is considered to be one of the best collections of late 19th and early 20th century architecture in the state of Indiana. And in doing so, we have applied for a grant with Indiana Historic Landmarks to work towards a designation of the Courthouse Square Commercial Historic District for Jasper. We will be having, if we get the grant to pursue that, or basically to hire an architect to help us pursue the next designation, we will be having again some additional meetings with downtown merchants, with not just the stores, but the owners of the buildings, so that we can look at this. We have funded in this year's budget money for improvements to facades and things like that, and before implementing that, we need to have again some commonality in what architectural standards would be, what the historic district would create as a benefit. Ultimately, this is not a type of district that would preclude you from doing something to a building, but it would certainly recognize that we have value in our downtown, and it's something the city is pursuing on its own.
Certainly another element to preserving the history around here.
Absolutely. I mean, we think that our buildings are generally well maintained, but perhaps there are people that are looking. We have had new owners in buildings. Are they looking for how to basically preserve them properly to get architectural input? And the city wants to foster that, so that when we look at doing a building, maybe we would not use maybe it would be a certain recommendation as far as, is that old awning good? Should it be replaced? What would I use to do so? If I have maybe some tuck pointing issues in my building, I want to preserve the brick. How do we make those connections? And so those really being able to be a resource and solution, and setting some guidance as to what might be able to be done. Again, not in a restrictive way, but in a respectful way of what's already here.
And on a final note, the Jasper Arts Center took some steps forward with liquor licensing.
That is correct. The Arts Center had inquired, much like the golf courses did last year, about the ability of selling alcohol, and based on that success, this would be on a totally different scale. Often in the world of arts, we have the availability of having liquor, and generally in the Arts Center, while it would be a beer and wine license, I think the likelihood of more wine being consumed, maybe just the opposite of what's on a golf course, but the liquor application is the same. We received an authorization from the local Alcoholic Beverage Commission Board here in Du Bois County to proceed as such, and we will. And this would be perhaps for receptions, for intermission time with shows in the auditorium, and that will allow bartenders to be employed, and the financial resources to do that would be through the Jasper Arts Commission. Again, it's essentially the same thing we did for the golf courses, but I think the use of it would be absolutely different. But if they wanted to have an outdoor event or something, which they've had occasionally before, and create that, there is that possibility, because they would have license to do so.
Probably draw more events to the center.
I'm not sure if that really would be the main purpose, as much as to better serve the patrons that are there. When you have a break, there's really not even soft drinks or things like that available, because that takes a lot of setup for the return that you get. With wine or beer, if you prefer, then that gives an opportunity. It's generally an adult audience, and they would also be able to create an area for the sales of such that would respect that. And it's very common in the arts. In fact, we used to do it on a kind of volunteer basis, or use a winery to do that, and that's become more and more difficult to do, more restrictive, so we thought the license was the best way to approach that.
Well, sounds like a decent plan. Mayor, we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Bradford.
This has been another week of Monday with the Mayor. We'll be back with more news after this break.